Good evening. It's day 10 of the Israel-US war to take down the threat from Iran, and there's absolutely no indication that Iran will fold. No indication whatsoever on ground. So amidst this raging war, news just coming in, Bengaluru Hotels Association say the supply of commercial gas cylinders has stopped, and this is due to interruption in gas supply. Reports coming in seem to indicate that gas supply to hotels will remain curtailed and they will be shut tomorrow. The association has issued a statement which says since the hotel industry is categorized as essential service, many common citizens, senior citizens, medical students, personnel and others who rely on this service for their daily meals will face difficulty. Additionally, the gas supply, when it returns to normal, the hotel industry, till then it will continue to face hardships, is the information that's coming in. We will get you more on this story. We'll get you more of what's happening in Bengaluru, but I want to go for the bigger picture right now. The information that is coming is Iran has appointed a new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei. Mojtaba Khamenei is the son of the decapitated Iranian supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and this indicates there are very strong signals coming from within Iran. It intends to fight to the finish. No question of folding up or surrendering, as the American President Donald Trump indicates. Israeli Defense Forces, they've mounted a new wave of air and missile strikes inside Iran. They've targeted the headquarters and bases not just of the IRGC or the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, but also the besieged forces across Iran. US Central Command says it struck over 3,000 targets during Operation Epic Fury. Explosions have been heard not just inside Tehran, but as this war expands in Qatar. The Ministry of Defense in Qatar has issued a statement in Doha saying it's intercepted several incoming missiles. One person was killed in an Iranian strike, and this in the heart of Israel. This is information that's just coming in from Tel Aviv. Israel has now confirmed the total death toll inside Israel has risen to 11. The other front, Turkey says it's destroyed an incoming Iranian missile that had entered its airspace. The UAE Defense Ministry says it has detected and neutralized a large number of drones and missiles. On the other hand, Iran's foreign ministry has accused Washington, D.C. of waging war for oil, insisting the United States is not just targeting its military or its leadership, but its resources, and the attempt is to take control of Iranian oil and break up the country. G7 nations will hold an emergency meeting shortly to discuss the surging oil prices. The crude has now shot beyond $110 per barrel. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer says the longer this war goes on, more likely is the potential of a massive impact on their economy. In a short while from now, we'll be joined by Nir Barkat. Nir Barkat is Minister of Industries in the Israeli government. He's a key aide of Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and a very strong proponent of continued hard action against Iran. We'll get you that interview, but first, this report.
West Asia war is entering a dangerous new phase. Iran steps up attacks after a new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of the late Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, takes charge. Iran has launched fresh attacks across the region. In Bahrain, an Iranian drone strike hit the Babco oil refinery in Sitra. At the same time, Iran has escalated its attack on Israel. Ballistic missiles were seen over the Jerusalem region, releasing multiple smaller bombs mid-air. Israel has accused Iran of deploying cluster bombs. The war is also taking a human toll. One person has been killed in central Israel after an Iranian missile strike. Meanwhile, US is signaling that it remains fully engaged in the conflict. US Central Command has released video showing American forces destroying Iranian missile launchers and military positions. Across the Gulf, countries are on high alert. Saudi Arabia and Bahrain have condemned Iran's attacks. UAE says its air defenses have intercepted more than 100 Iranian drones since the war began, while Qatar accused Tehran of betraying Arab countries.
It saddens us what our dear country and Arab sisterly and friendly countries have been subjected to, from unprecedented attacks that can't be justified under any pretext by Iran. Bahrain has always been and will remain a nation of peace that has never initiated hostilities against anyone and has only pursued the path of cooperation and good neighborliness.
Back in Iran, amid the political transition, the Iranian foreign minister blames US for regional instability.
The fact is that the aggressors in their targets and in their attacks against Iran make no distinction between any of Iran's ethnic groups and make no distinction between any segment of Iranians. Have no doubt about this fact.
The rise of Mojtaba Khamenei could signal a more hardline phase for Iran. And that means the West Asia war may be entering an even more dangerous chapter. Bureau Report, India Today.
Past 10 days has seen massive escalation, the world clearly on the brink. And let me break it down to you how the world is going up this very dangerous escalation ladder. On the 28th of February, this just exploded into a major conflict. US and Israeli forces, they launched coordinated deep strikes inside Iran. And they had early success. The supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and top IRGC commanders, they were neutralized on strikes on day one. But Iran retaliated within hours. Iran had war-gamed it. So ballistic missiles instantly were fired in the direction both of Tel Aviv and Israel's capital, Jerusalem. Simultaneously, Iranian forces, they targeted US military bases across the GCC countries. So whether it was in Bahrain, which is the 5th Fleet headquarters, or Qatar, which has a very, very important airbase, the Al Udeid airbase, Kuwait, which has US bases, United Arab Emirates, multiple bases across the region were targeted on day one by Iran. Day two saw more escalation. US and Israeli strikes, they continued across Iran. They destroyed the headquarters of the IRGC. Iran, it continued to hit back. Israeli town, for example, of Beit Shemesh, that was targeted. 9 people lost their lives, 9 fatalities and injuries on day 2. Day 3, on the 2nd of March, a second front opened. This was when Hezbollah targeted northern part of Israel, and Israel, it unleashed fury not seen before on not just on Beirut, but south of the Litani River, because they made it very clear that area had to be cleared out completely. 500,000 people had to leave their homes. Israel launched a series of strikes. Iran threatened to shut the Strait of Hormuz, again going up the escalation ladder. Iranian drones, they targeted Saudi Aramco Ras Tanura refinery, again going up the escalation ladder. Now let's come to day 4, which is the 3rd of March. This war, systematically the Iranians then started targeting US missions across the region. A barrage of missiles targeting Israel, overwhelming the Iron Dome system. A drone strike hit the US consulate in Dubai. Explosions were reported across Doha, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and in the Kurdistan region in Erbil, in the northern part of Iraq. And then the next day, which is day 5, the 4th of March, the nuclear facilities of Iran were once again systematically targeted, the first time since the 2025 operations. So these were joint US-Israeli strikes. They first went to Natanz. They targeted the Natanz nuclear facility. Tehran, it fired more than 500 missiles and more than 2,000 drones in response. This was when a US submarine lurking in the Indian Ocean region, it targeted an Iranian frigate, Dana, off the coast of Sri Lanka. By then, 2 other ships had been given refuge, one in Sri Lanka, the other in India in the port of Kochi. Shipping war started the next day. This is day 6 and the 5th of March. Iranian drones were now targeting US oil tankers in the Gulf. Kurdish forces were targeted once again in Iraq. Traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, it collapsed by 90%. And now this war wasn't just impacting the region, it was impacting the world. Day 7, the 6th of March, strikes intensified yet again, and massive strikes by both sides. So even though the US may have claimed that they had taken down almost 86% of Iranian drone strike capabilities and 90% of their missile strike capabilities, Iran continued to fire in the direction of Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. A lot of missiles were intercepted, no doubt, but some of the drones managed to beat the system. They saturated the system and then some managed to land. Israeli forces intensified their attack on Beirut. And this is where on the 8th day, that's the 7th of March, the energy war intensified, with Israel targeting Iran's oil infrastructure, targeting airports once again. Bahrain intercepted incoming missiles that were targeting some of its energy sectors. Kuwait, with a fire going, had to cut its oil output. And this is where civilian infrastructure was also targeted on the 9th day, which is the 8th of March, again going up the escalation ladder once again. An Iranian drone damaged a desalination plant in Bahrain. And this is serious escalation, because people cannot survive without water. If a desalination plant is targeted, then clearly potable water or drinking water will be adversely impacted. Iran says this was in retaliation to Americans targeting their desalination plant. Allegations and counter-allegations being made from all sides. An Israeli drone hit a hotel in the southern part of Lebanon. Another projectile hit a residential area in Saudi Arabia. And on day 10, the 9th of March, this is where global shockwaves are now being felt. Oil prices have surged. They've surged past $100 a barrel, $114 a barrel as we speak. An Iranian strike sets a refinery in Bahrain on fire. A human rights group has accused Israel of using white phosphorus in Lebanon. That again is being seen as a major escalation. 10 days, multiple fronts, multiple missile strikes, drone strikes, energy warfare that's spreading across the region. And Iran has now elected Mojtaba Khamenei as its new supreme leader. This indicates Iran continues to fight and fight back and fight back harder, as long as it has weapons, rockets, missiles, and more important, the missile launchers and the drone launchers. We get you more in this report.
It is a new dawn for Iran amid its darkest chapter even in history. After Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was killed in strikes by Israel and United States, the second son of Ali Khamenei, Mojtaba Khamenei, has succeeded him. After Mojtaba was named the supreme leader of Iran, Iran's military and political leaders have pledged allegiance to him. A strong emotional sentiment is echoing for Mojtaba after he lost his father, mother, wife and daughter in the strikes carried out by Israel and United States when Ali Khamenei was targeted by thousands of pounds of explosives while negotiating peace deal with US alongside top officials. Mojtaba is a hardline cleric with deep ties to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. During the Iran-Iraq War in late 80s, he volunteered on the front lines and served as a member of the Mujahid Battalion. The experience shaped his outlook and deepened his commitment to the ideals of Islamic revolution. As Mojtaba steps into his father's shoes, he faces the wrath of arch-rivals Israel and the United States. Donald Trump called the choice unacceptable and hinted that it won't last.
We're in a very strong position now, and their leadership is just rapidly going. Everybody that seems to want to be a leader, they end up dead.
Israel, without mincing words, stated that it will not allow any other supreme leader in Iran and any successor appointed by the Islamic nation or involved in appointment would be a clear target for elimination. Israel followed through its threat by carrying out a strike in central Tehran and killed Abul Qasim Babayan, identified as the coming head of the military office of Iran's supreme leader. The move has created global tension, with China opposing any military action against Mojtaba, calling it an internal matter of Iran. With the supreme leader holding ultimate authority over Iran's military, judiciary and foreign policy, Mojtaba Khamenei's leadership will significantly shape the Islamic nation's future and its all-out war with the US. Bureau Report, India Today.
As tensions spike across the region, I quickly want to cut across to Israel. Joining me on this India Today special broadcast is Nir Barkat, Minister for Industries in Israel. Minister Barkat, welcome. You've called for full force continuation of strikes against Iran. You've described the current situation as a critical opportunity to behead the regime. Sir, with the conflict now in its second week, involving direct US participation, what is your assessment of the military progress so far, especially at a time when Iran has appointed Mojtaba Khamenei as the next leader?
Well, thank you for hosting me. I want to remind us all the challenge. The Iranian regime, the Nazi regime, declared 47 years ago that they want the full destruction of Israel. They call us the little Satan. The United States is the big Satan. And all non-Muslim countries are all on the same line. They are executing. They've executed and went a long way to create a nuclear bomb in order to use it against us. Now everyone understands the big threat of the ballistic missiles that they've been using against Israel and around the region. And they've been funding and developing and investing, the biggest funder of terror around the world, in Hezbollah in Lebanon, in Hamas in Gaza, and other proxies, the Houthis and others, all for the goal of the elimination of the state of Israel. And now there's a huge opportunity now, now that we're working with the Americans and the collaboration between President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu is second to none. There's a window of opportunity to dismantle that evil leadership in Iran, and we're totally committed in order to do that. We've started it, and we're in the path of success.
But past 10 days, was the impression that the moment Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is killed, thousands of people will take to the streets, there would be a revolution and there would be a regime change? That doesn't seem to have happened. On the contrary, they're not only fighting back, they've got a new supreme leader in place. Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei is the new supreme leader. Is that a setback to Israel and America's planning and operations in your view, sir?
Well, the primary goal of the United States and Israel is to eliminate the threat with ballistic missiles, the nuclear threat, and the support they give to our region to make sure that the proxies are starved and eventually also eliminated from our region. That's the primary goal. And what we're focusing on is focusing on the regime, focusing on their leadership. The new leader, I believe, his life expectancy is probably very, very short. Because as long as they believe in the destruction of Israel, and their goal has not changed, that leadership is a target for Israel and the United States. And actually, again, we're not just fighting for ourselves. So eventually, if and when the regime will change and be replaced, we would be more than happy.
Okay. The IRGC continues to fire missiles to target Israel and US interests in the region. Any indication that you have that Iran is weakened after 10 days of intense bombing? Or are there apprehensions as Iran warns that it will target Israel and US interests in the region with newer generation missiles? And do you see the targeting of desalination plants as an escalation, Minister?
Well, I think everyone with his open eyes understands that Israel and the United States control the sky. And the targeted attacks that we are making are targeted against the regimes, against their capabilities, against their ballistic missiles, their launchers, anything that the regime has that suppresses the people of Iran, from our perspective, is a target, and we're going after them. We will not stop until we take them all out. That's the one thing. On the other hand, you can see that our defense is relatively probably best in the world. It's unfortunate today we had another 2 people killed. But what Iran is doing, they're not focusing on our military. They're focusing on civilians. The indiscriminate ballistic missiles they're firing on Israel are killing civilians. And we're focusing on the regime. Huge difference. No doubt in my mind that they're getting weaker and weaker by the minute.
Except that Iran says 175 little school children were killed, young school girls were killed in a Tomahawk cruise missile attack. Do you foresee that this would lead to retaliation where more civilians may be targeted either in Israel or in the wider Gulf region? And do you see Mojtaba Khamenei as perhaps continuation of the existing hardline policies of Ayatollah Khamenei, or do they become even more hardline in your assessment?
Well, just to remind you that just a few months ago, they killed over 30,000 people of their own people. The regime killed over 30,000 innocent civilians. Now they're targeting our civilians. We're not targeting civilians. And there's a question, I believe that it's probably it was an Iranian missile, a missed missile. And in any case, Israel and the United States don't target civilians. So if it's one way or the other part of war, it happens. It's not our intention. We are focused and we know what we're doing. We're going after the bad guys, not innocent civilians.
Minister Nir Barkat, when we look at the impact on the wider region and not just restricted to the West Asian region or the Middle East, look at the prices of oil. They're moving towards $120 per barrel. There's curtailed output in the Gulf regions. The Strait of Hormuz remains shut. Any further escalation, do you think this would have a catastrophic effect not just on the region, but on the world? Is there any road to peace in your view, sir?
The goal is to defeat the regime in Iran, okay? Now, short term, they're putting the pressure. Iran is putting the pressure. Once we get rid of the bad guys in Iran, that leadership, things will go back to normal. So short term, there's a bit of a challenge, but it's not going to deter Israel and the United States from our goal, which is to target that evil regime, that Nazi regime that took responsibility for the attack October 7 in Israel. These are the people. And once we remove them, things will go back to peace. And I believe also we'll see an expansion of the Abraham Accords. So the peace-seeking countries in the region will all win together and create the new corridor, the new IMEC corridor. They expand the Abraham Accords. This is what we're seeking to accomplish immediately after, or even in parallel, to our defeating the evil regime in Iran.
So is there a time frame that you have in mind? Is there an off-ramp that you have in mind? What is it that America and Israel could do differently? What is it that Iran could do differently? Or countries of the region? Is there any off-ramp in your view, sir?
Well, naturally, we would be happy to see other countries join this just war. Okay, there were many Gulf countries that were targeted. They've done nothing wrong. If they help us, and if other countries join, and in defeating the regime, the faster we do the job, the easier it is. It's going to be for the region and for the whole world. So the problem is the Iranian regime, not the Iranian people that we believe are peaceful people. We had peace with them in the past, and we would like to see that come again, and certainly not in the region. And the more people unite with the United States, with the leadership of the United States and Israel, the faster we get the solution, the easier, the faster the peace will arrive.
You know, since you mentioned IMEC, the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, there were reports that Iranian missiles targeted Haifa. So is that a setback to IMEC? And do you look at some silver lining in this very difficult period? The progress, if at all, on FTA with India. You described the FTA negotiations as making history, and you've talked about the strategic partnership between India and Israel, and you know, your personal friendship with Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal. Can you explain how that is moving forward?
Well, sure. Mind you that just before the war started, the day before it started, we were honored to host Prime Minister Modi, which has an amazing, excellent relationship with our Prime Minister Netanyahu. And our goal is very clear. It's not going to change. We are both ancient people with a lot of rich history, a lot of respect to each other. Today, I could say that our innovation and new ideas with the scope and the scale of India, 1 + 1 = 10. We both countries understand that very well. We don't look at India just as a 1.4 billion largest country in the world, as maybe probably already the third largest economy in the world. But we see India as a gateway to other countries in the region in Asia. So we're both gearing our strategies and our economies to collaborate together and to make that 1 + 1 = 10. I spoke to my friend Minister Piyush Goyal last week. Both, I want to thank him for the empathy and for the support. And also we discussed how do we boost the free trade agreement that we're now negotiating. And I believe that we have an opportunity maybe to finish it maybe as soon as this year, which is very, very short. The businesses, both on the Israeli side and in India, are expecting to see us move fast because the opportunity is there for us, regardless of the challenge we have with Iran. This is on track, and I'm very happy to say that I'm very optimistic, by the way, on both fronts. Us winning the war with Iran and expanding the Abraham Accords, and of course, collaborating with India to a new, bright, huge future together.
And you see IMEC get back on an even keel. Would you give a time frame, you know, the end of this conflict, return to normalcy for India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor to take shape?
Oh, we're not waiting. The Israeli government we have some, teams working on the concept, at least on our part, entering Israel in Bet She'an, that's a city with a border to Jordan, and then going to Haifa, and then focusing on how it leads to Europe. We've already started planning our part in this initiative, and we've been negotiating and speaking to the Emiratis and of course the Indians, and we were not waiting. We're sure that this will eventually come, and we have already started the planning.
But is there an apprehension that this war could actually escalate very drastically, the kind of military hardware that is now being mobilized, the B-1 bombers, the B-2 bombers, the B-52 bombers, and will it remain an air campaign, air and missile campaign, or will America and Israel at some point of time look at boots on ground for a faster closure to this conflict in your view, sir?
Well, I'm not sure that discussing our options is prudent to do in the show. I'm sure that Iran is watching the show, and I'm not going to give them too many details, but they must expect many surprises on the way. Remember that Israel attacked twice. We surprised the Iranians twice by going after their leaders. We attacked and surprised Lebanon, the Hezbollah in Lebanon with the beepers. Expect surprises, and they should be concerned. Once they drop their weapon, things will be okay. I mean, the world will come back to order. But right now, we're really, really focused on winning this war with the evil Nazis of Iran. And there's no doubt in my mind, that this will eventually happen because we have no choice. Israel has no choice but to win and to remove this obstacle. And that's why we will win.
Minister Nir Barkat, Industries Minister of Israel, for joining me here on this India Today special broadcast. Many thanks, sir.
Thank you very much.
And the human cost of this conflict is escalating, and sadly every day. In Israel, Iranian missile strikes, so far they've killed 11 people, they've injured more than 100. In Iraq, 2 people were killed, 7 others have been wounded. Bahrain reported 1 death and 4 injuries after the Iranian attacks. Look at what's happening in Kuwait. Kuwait has seen 4 people dead and at least 35 injured as missiles and drones targeted military installations. A lot of missiles were neutralized, but the debris falling on certain installations also led to damages. United Arab Emirates, for example, it's reported 4 fatalities, 4 deaths, and 112 people have been injured after Iranian missile strikes, drone strikes, and rocket strikes, and debris from intercepted missiles falling in some instances even in residential areas. Oman, that's been hit. 1 person was killed, 5 others injured. Lebanon suffered amongst the heaviest losses so far. Nearly 400 people are reported dead. More than 800 have been injured in Israeli strikes targeting Hezbollah strongholds. However, a large number of civilians were killed, injured, and forced to migrate from their homes. Qatar has reported 16 injuries in missile and drone strikes. Now, those missiles and drones were neutralized, but it's the debris that led to these injuries. The heaviest toll, sadly, has been in Iran itself. More than 1,230 people have been killed since the war began, and as strikes on Tehran continue, authorities have warned residents about the toxic pollutants that are spreading across the city and the risk of acid rain risking even more lives. Reports suggest there's a growing rift between the United States and Israel, with Washington said to be miffed over some of these strikes on oil depots, and Iran saying that it was an American Tomahawk cruise missile strike that killed 175 school-going children. In fact, a newspaper in Iran on the cover page has all those 175 pictures mourning the deaths. All young schoolgirls killed in a missile strike. And in the fog of war, there are massive claims and counterclaims. And let's now talk about a very painful event that's taken place. It's the strike at a Minab school in Iran. There's a new video that's been released by Iran, and Iran says this is evidence of a likely US Tomahawk cruise missile strike that hit a school. 175 people, majority of them young schoolgirls, they were reportedly killed in this. And in this video that's been released in Iran, a US Tomahawk cruise missile is seen hitting a naval base near the Iranian school. The video released by Iran's Mehr news agency, verified by US media as claimed by Iran, shows a Tomahawk cruise missile striking a naval base next to a school in Minab, and this happened on the 28th of February, the first day of the strikes. Iran said new evidence actually contradicts US President Donald Trump's told claims that Iran was responsible for the strike at the school that killed 175 people, majority of them young schoolgirls. President Trump has repeatedly claimed that it was Iran that bombed the school that killed over 165. He also said that the missile that struck the school was actually an Iranian-manufactured missile that misfired. And the Israel and Iran war is now sending shockwaves across global markets. Oil markets are exploding. They're literally on fire. Prices surging like a pressure valve that's suddenly blown open. Today, the spike became virtually unbearable, as many market analysts say. Brent crude, for example, the global benchmark surged to $119.50 a barrel. And this is just 3 months. Crude prices have already doubled. But why are oil prices at a 2-year high? One of the world's most critical oil routes, the Strait of Hormuz, remains heavily disrupted, Continuous attacks, rising tensions in the Gulf region have choked shipping traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, forcing several oil firms in the region to halt or slow down crude supplies because insurance companies are unwilling to give insurance to ships to cross the Strait of Hormuz, with Iran threatening to target those ships. A large portion of global oil shipment passing through this very narrow corridor. It's just 39 kilometers at one point. Any disruption immediately sends prices soaring across the world. Just in the third month of 2026, and look at the number of wars that are raging across the world. 2026 is sadly shaping up to be a year of wars. There are multiple conflicts that are raging almost in different parts of the world, across the world, from the Red Sea to the Black Sea and beyond. The Israel versus Iran war is something that all of us are talking about. The war has now expanded across the Gulf region, threatening global energy security routes. Israel is also locked in a conflict with Hamas in Gaza. In the Red Sea, you have Houthi rebels who are targeting sea lanes of communication. Red Sea is a major global hotspot. This again is one of the world's busiest maritime corridors that's been turned into a conflict zone. The war is raging for the past 4 years and counting between Russia and Ukraine, and it continues to grind on, the deadliest war on the continent since World War II. So from Europe, let's now shift focus to Asia. The Durand Line is on fire. Afghan Taliban forces are systematically hitting back at Pakistani army and security forces along the 2,600-kilometer long Durand Line after Islamabad bombed Kabul, Kandahar, Nangarhar and other parts of Afghanistan. Let me now take you across continents to take you to Africa. Multiple wars being fought even in Africa. Sudan's brutal civil war, it continues to devastate the country. There's a huge humanitarian crisis. Let me bring you back to Asia. Myanmar, it remains caught in conflict. Then again, if we were to talk about what's happening in Africa, what's happening in Mali, in Burkina Faso, in Niger, there are military juntas that are taking control or fighting with various groups in the country. In Somalia, government forces continue their year-long battle against Al-Shabaab forces. So just look around the world, there are conflicts happening, but closer home, closer to our borders, there's a sharp spike in tension along the Afghanistan-Pakistan border, the Durand Line. The images that you see on your television screen, those are Taliban forces at the border targeting Pakistani security forces, Pakistan Army posts, and Mullah Yaqub is very clear. If Kabul is attacked, and indication are that if there's an airstrike on Kabul, there will be a ground strike in Islamabad. The indication, suicide bombers of Taliban or of Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan will hit Pakistan, whether it's in Islamabad, in Lahore or in Rawalpindi. Afghanistan has doubled down. It's warned of insecurity. It's said that insecurity in Kabul means no peace in Islamabad. Afghanistan is primed to wage a war for a decade if pushed. These are words of Mullah Yaqub, and this isn't bluster, this isn't rhetoric, because the Taliban, they fought multiple forces for decades. It's a direct threat in response to Pakistan's Defense Minister Khwaja Asif threatening Kabul, declaring this is open war. Tensions in the current round started around mid-February when Pakistan carried out devastating airstrikes on Kabul, Kandahar and in the eastern part of Afghanistan. So Kabul was targeted, Kandahar was targeted, Nangarhar was targeted, Paktika was targeted. Pakistan alleges that terrorists of TTP, Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, they carry out terror attacks inside Pakistan and then they seek shelter in Afghanistan. Kabul hit back with large-scale ground offensive, inflicting what both sides admit are very heavy casualties along the Af-Pak border. Hundreds dead in cross-border clashes in recent months. In fact, Afghanistan has repeatedly dismissed Pakistan's demand to target TTP or Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, claiming there are no TTP in territory that Pakistan perceives is in Afghanistan territory. They say all of this is imaginary, it's unrealistic. They in fact blame Islamabad's own security failures, saying that it is Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. They live in Pakistan, they carry out strikes in Pakistan, and Pakistan army and government in the past have paid money to them. It's your internal problem, you sort it out internally. But do keep in mind, since the August 2021 takeover of Kabul by Taliban, TTP attacks in Pakistan have surged 50% in the previous year, 2025. And this fuels Islamabad's fury and thus the airstrikes. But Mullah Yaqub's message is clear. Poke us in the eye, there will be consequences for Islamabad. Really, this isn't a neighborly a fight. This isn't something, a spat that's happening in the neighborhood. This is a very serious war where Afghanistan says we don't even recognize the existence of Pakistan. So it's hurting Pakistan in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, it's hurting Pakistan in Baluchistan, and Pakistan has reached out to Saudi Arabia and Turkey, hoping they may prevail upon the Taliban to de-escalate and not increase tensions, not just in KPK, but also in the restive Baluchistan province. There's more breaking news coming in, and this is now on the Russia-Ukraine front. There's been a Russian missile strike that's killed at least 10 people in Ukraine's Kharkiv region after an apartment block was hit. 16 others were injured, is the information that's coming in, including children. Ukrainian authorities say that a 5-story building was completely destroyed in the Russian missile strike. Ukraine's air defense remains on high alert after Russia launched 29 missile strikes and nearly 480 drones overnight in attacks that targeted energy infrastructure, military installations, and people who are considered very close to the leadership in Ukraine. And attacks have taken place not just in the capital Kiev, but also in other central regions and the eastern part, which is Kharkiv. This escalation triggered a response from a NATO member state, Poland. Warsaw scrambled fighter jets after Russian missile strike was detected in the Ukrainian airspace. 4 people have been wounded, several buildings including a hospital damaged, and this happened in the Donetsk region after an attack by a Ukrainian military installation. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has also signaled Kiev's readiness to share its experiences in countering Iranian-designed Shahid drones. Zelensky says Ukraine has years of combat experience to target and neutralize the Iranian drones. Big story coming in. Indonesia has finalized an agreement to procure the BrahMos supersonic cruise missile system from India. Indonesia's Ministry of Defense spokesperson has confirmed the deal, saying it is part of Indonesia's effort to modernize its military hardware, particularly its maritime defense capabilities. Discussions over the missile purchase, they've been underway for quite some time. In fact, in 2023, BrahMos Aerospace, the joint India-Russia missile venture, said it was in an advanced stage of negotiations with Indonesia on a deal estimated to be between $200 to $350 million. But the final value of the agreement hasn't been made public. Indonesia will become only the second country to acquire the BrahMos supersonic cruise missile system after the Philippines, which signed the first overseas contract for the BrahMos system. And it is a superb supersonic cruise missile system that proved itself once again during the Operation Sindoor, where multiple Pakistani air bases were taken down. Vital assets and vital points in Pakistan, including the terror headquarters at Muridke and Bahawalpur, were taken down in pinpoint precision strikes by the BrahMos supersonic cruise missile.